Stephen Espinoza here on location, a day out, some cool fights about to go down.
Yeah, look, I did a lot of fights with the Charlos. I think the sport's better with them. They're big personalities. They're exciting in the ring. Caleb Plant, continues, like he just becomes a bigger star. Got some good young fighters. I mean, this has got a little bit of everything on this card.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of the boxing enthusiasts and the hardcore fans, they want to see Plant and Charlo next in October or September. Is that the way you guys kind of have a look at it from PBC and Amazon of we're brewing this up for a big end of the year fight?
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, they both look good, and that's the plan. But as we've seen lately, most recently with Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia, plans don't mean anything. People got to get in there and handle their business in there. So and it's a big if those guys are successful, then I think we see Plant versus Charlo before the end of the year.
The likes of yourself, Haymon, Tom Brown, you guys have known the Charlos better than anyone. You brought them up. How good is it and how happy is it for you and your team to see Jermall so fit, strong, and like the Jermall that we knew back in 2018, 2019?
It's great. Like, it makes me happy. Like, I know people have strong reactions to the Charlos. Like, a lot of people love them. A lot of people think they're a little bit crazy. A lot of people are scared of them. But, I've never had an issue with them. I've done, 13 or 14 fights with each of them. And, like I said, they're good for the sport. They draw attention to the sport. Look, there's sometimes some drama outside the ring, but one thing they do, they always fight hard. They're exciting fighters. And anytime you see someone going through what they've gone through, Thomas LaManna has something similar. Jermall's got something similar. It's something a lot of people can relate to, going through, ups and downs. Everybody's got it. Some of them are worse than others. Sometimes it rises to the level of bipolar or depression or things like that. So, like, regardless of your feelings about Thomas LaManna or about Jermall Charlo, you have to root for someone who comes back from the depths of that.
The dark place.
And to be at this stage, it's just a victory to be here.
Charlo, yesterday we did a media scrum with him, and we actually thank him. All of us that cover boxing, especially in America and Australia and around the world, he spiced it right up.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
No offense to the show that was that show in New York, but it was very, very different. I think he brought back that real, that American boxing that we love so much, and he was quite vocal yesterday.
As a TV executive, like I'm obviously super hypersensitive to marketable guys and good TV. He's good TV. Like, that's, you never get a boring interview out of Jermall Charlo or Jermall Charlo. So I think he's good for the sport. He brings attention to the sport, and he's exciting in the ring.
You guys have got a massive 3 months coming up. Please don't sleep on PBC Boxing, live on Amazon Prime and obviously Amazon Prime Video pay-per-view. Manny Pacquiao is back, taking on Mario Barrios. I know we got something going on tomorrow. We can't say too much, but stay tuned. What do you think about Manny coming back at 46? And he's out in LA just putting it down. He's looking good. I
mean, look, it's, his whole career is sort of a miracle. I mean, we were going through and producing the preview show, looking back at old footage. And, all the boxing hardcore fans, know it. But to actually see him at 108 pounds, and thinking how far he's come. And so at this point to be, it's gone as high as 154 and 147. And so anybody who sort of says, well, you can't do it at this age, it doesn't make sense that he did any of this. Like, getting from 108 to where he was, and knocking out, guys like, like Oscar, stopping Oscar, going in there and doing what he did to Hatton or Dakota. Like, none of that made sense. So I'm never going to doubt Manny Pacquiao.
Margarito.
Yeah.
Jeez, we could keep going on. It's been an amazing career. You guys did the last fight against Dennis Ugas and obviously Keith Thurman. We'll get to that. Do you reckon you're going to see a more revitalized Manny based off that he's had a bit of a break the last 3 or 4 years?
I think so. I mean, or the question is, we may see a different one. Maybe it's a guy who's realized he doesn't quite have the foot speed that he did one day. And does he get it done with experience and tricks and quickness? I'm really interested to see like what he does strategically. Whether he adjusts his style because of his age and the reality that things do change over time. And I'm just excited. I mean, it's a fantastic undercard. I mean, the fact that you could get, you've got the Zoo rematch with
Get to
Pandora.
that. How good is that?
And a rematch of one of Isaac Cruz's most exciting fights. A really strong opener with Brandon Figueroa.
Yeah.
Look, the undercard is just as exciting as that main event.
Want to get on to the tanks, obviously, with LaManna Roach. We've got to do that rematch. And I mean, we've spoken so much about the first fight. Stephen, we're looking to probably see that in August.
That's the plan. We're trying to finalize things, but obviously neither one of them, neither Roach nor Tank, is real happy with the way things ended. So there's really no other right thing to do other than to put them back together again. And I think both of them want it, so it'll eventually get done, hopefully for August.
Boxing's really crazy at the moment, the landscape. I know you guys are based here in America, but for us around the world, we're kind of looking at this Turkey Yellow Sheet thing and then, Matchroom and them doing their things. But Top Ranks, talks of you guys at Top Rank coming together. How have you actually seen it from your background in TV, production, Showtime? You've done it all. How do you see where the sport's at right now, and what's your focus over the next 3 months for PBC?
Yeah, it's a critical transition point. And what we're seeing right now, we're seeing new networks get in. We're seeing, the sport change in a lot of different ways. If you look at just, HBO and Showtime, really were the big pillars supporting the sport in the U.S. HBO got out in 2018. Showtime got out in 2025. That's probably $250 million a year in license fees, money supporting the sport in the U.S., paying for fights, developing fighters. So, that's before you even talk about like all the marketing and the development that the network supported. So at that point, it's a huge, massive change. Now, obviously, the Saudis have no shortage of finances and ability to go forward. So, but it's going to look different. What happens with Top Rank? There's a lot of change going on there. Things in the UK have been interesting, with Matchroom and then with Queensberry re-emerging, and then, seeing them both work together. Like it's really interesting. But I think one thing that is really clear, no one knows exactly where the sport's going to be. I think we all have to be working hard to continue developing all levels of the sport, not just the big fights, the developmental fights, the mid-level fights, and continue to develop outlets. I don't think we can all be dependent on the Saudis, and what they're doing. I think we've got to continue to work hard and
steak and potatoes. Yeah, exactly. Let's keep it. Last question. So much talk 2 months ago. Canelo versus Crawford. Oh, Netflix. Canelo Crawford. Oh, Dana White. Mm-hmm. This new one, whatever it's going to be. What's your thoughts on where it will end up on what network, and who's going to promote it?
Good question. Look,
good question.
I think at the end of the day, there has been a lot of information flowing, a lot of developments, a lot of rumors. I think at the end of it, it's going to stay in Vegas. I think it should, and I think very likely the stadium still. I know there's some details, but it makes all the sense in the world. Like outside chance T-Mobile, but I think they'll stay at the stadium. And I figure, TKO will figure out a way to get back. It's too big an opportunity for them. I know they've got another event. And they're trying to do what they do with UFC on Mexican weekend, and they'd be competing with themselves. I get it, but this is a huge opportunity for TKO. And
what would be the network then?
It's a good question.
Put it on DAZN?
I think DAZN's a very real possibility. I'm not sure that Netflix is dead yet. If I had to guess, it's probably DAZN, but I think it's anybody's guess right now.